welcome to episode 40 of My Yarny Corner. My name's Alex and I live in Yorkshire in the UK, and this is a podcast all about knitting and crochet. So welcome everybody, I hope you're all okay and I hope you've had a lovely crafty couple of weeks. This is episode 40. I will leave all the information in the description box below about where you can find me, and anything that I talk about in the video will be linked below as well. So, how are we all? Are we all okay? Sorry about there being no podcast last week. It was a little bit tricky. We'd had the heat wave the week before and I'd had no knitting content whatsoever. Plus we were going out on the Wednesday, which is when I normally record the podcast, which you will have seen a vlog about. So thank you for everyone that watched that vlog. We had such a lovely, lovely day at Stockhell Park. It was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it was a great day. It was just, it's not very far from here. We're quite lucky because it's only a half an hour drive away. It's in between sort of Wetherby and Harrogate. It's a really, really lovely day out. It is just a giant park with lots of added extras as well. So you pay for your entry into the park. We normally take a picnic. If you can hear any noise in the background, there are gamers, that's what that is. Vince playing on the Xbox, you might catch a little bit of noise in the background. Anyway, so yeah, you pay your entry into the park. We normally take a picnic because the cafes are, obviously it's another expense, and it's quite expensive for us all to get in, but so worth it. You'll have seen from the videos there is a giant maze, and the goal of the maze is to find the middle bit, which is like a giant globe. So you make your way to the middle and then you make your way out. Funnily enough, when you've found the middle, I think it's more or less a straight line out of the maze. But it takes so long to find the middle, it's huge. So they have that, and then they have a big enchanted forest that you walk round, which is all interactive. So they've got lots of statues and things that you can touch and play with along the way. The statues talk to you. There's all different play parks as you walk round. So there's plenty for the kids to do on the way round. They have boats. You can hire a little boat and take a little boat out onto the lake. They didn't have the segways out this time. Normally they have segways and you can go around the enchanted forest on a segway. Whether they've stopped that, because they are making some changes, so I don't know whether they've stopped that or not. And they used to have a roller skating rink in the summer, and then it turns to an ice skating rink in the winter. But I don't know whether they've stopped that, because that seemed to have gone as well. But they'd introduced the new play hive, which was the big indoor bit you saw us in. That was amazing. It was huge and it was so much fun. We were really lucky because we always get there when it opens at 10 o'clock. Just so we can get, because we had Harry as well with us, and Harry is autistic, I didn't want to take him into the play hive when it was so busy. So we got there nice and early and we made sure the play hive was our first port of call. So when we went in, we got an hour and a half. You can pay for a sort of limited time slot, or you can pay extra and get an anytime time slot, so you can go in at any point. But when we went in, it was really quiet, so it was perfect for Harry, but it was just full of slides and climbing frames and everything. It was just brilliant, so that was really fun. Then they've got the gift shop, they've got go-karts, they've got the giant inflatable slides and inflatable pillows. It's just a really, really good day out. Kind of like a theme park without all the scary rides. So that was really fun. That was last Wednesday and we had such a fab time. Yeah, it was just brilliant. We left there about 2:30, 3 o'clock, I think. We got there at 10 o'clock in the morning. Did you hear that? That's the cats fighting. So yeah, it was... Sorry about that. That was Stuart again. Honestly, he's still fighting so much with the other cats. He's terrible. He was fighting with Jack. Anyway, so yeah, that was last Wednesday. It was absolutely brilliant. We had such a good day. So yeah, we did that. And that's been about it, I think. There was more live stuff. I'll talk about that in the end. That's not why you're here. For those of you that are here just for the knitting and crochet content, I will get into that right now. So what have we got to talk about? Well, there is actually more crochet than there is knitting this week. Can you believe that? My knitting mojo has upped and left. it's gone. I can still knit socks. I was talking last time on the podcast about how I thought I'd stolen everybody's sock mojo, and I think this may be some kind of retribution because I can't knit, I can only knit socks. There is a little bit of knitting content, but I'll talk about my lost knitting mojo again at the end of the podcast. So, like I say, there is more crochet, but we'll start with, should we start with finished objects or whips? Now, I always say this, and I always start with finished objects. We'll start with finished objects. Right. Stop waffling, Alex. You're 5 minutes in. You've done nothing but waffle. Let's get on with the podcast. Let's start with finished objects. I have two pairs of socks, a bag, and I think that's it. Right, so finished objects. Let's get into the podcast. We can chat at the end. Right, so my first finished object is the socks that I was working on last time. So these are the stripy socks. These were the first stripy socks that I'd made, the yarn that I'd made, and this is Retro Gumball. I did finish the socks. I was talking about last time how I wasn't happy with the stripes, but I absolutely love them. They're not as wide as I would have liked, but this was my first attempt at stripy yarn, and I absolutely love them. These are Retro Gumball. Fingers crossed there will be some going into the shop. I'm going to talk about all that at the end. I'm going to try not to go off on any tangents and talk about what I need to talk about at the end. So they are just vanilla socks. I don't know if you can tell. I'll see, try and get it to a point where you can tell. Here we go. If I put them that way, you should be able to tell. There you go. Can you see my mistake? I was working on these during the heat wave, and it was just so hot. It was so hard to knit. And you can see this sock has 20 rows, as all my sort of ankle type shorty socks do. This sock only has 10. I don't know what I did. I did contemplate pulling it out, but I tried them on. I thought, if I need to pull them out, I'll pull them out. I can pull the cuff down and re-knit it and then make them a little bit longer. But I tried them on, and I really can't tell the difference. Nobody's going to notice, other than me, that one leg is 10 rows shorter than the other. And you wouldn't have known, I don't think, had I not pointed that out. So I've left them. They're only mine. They're not for anybody else but me. But yeah. So they are finished. Now I can wear them. Well, I can't wear them. It's too hot. Although the sky looks very, very dark outside. That's why the lighting's quite poor. It looks like we're going to have some rain today. But I do have another pair of socks. These are the second attempt, I think, at stripy yarn. Now this colourway is Danny's, and he called it Ilkley Bar Tap because it's got the green and the brown and the blue that is very Ilkley-ish. Oh my god, you should see Stuart. So just behind the camera there's the lounge window, and you have a window that opens on either side. This side window is completely wide open. This side window is shut, and he's meowing at this window. All he's got to do is reverse a bit and the window's open. Honestly. So these are there. So as you can see, I figured out the stripes this time on here. So there's about 4 to 5 rows of stripes per colour, which is what I was intending to go for. I really like these. This yarn is one out of stash. It's one that I've had for well over a year. It was a mini from Mr. and Mrs. Rabbit Yarns. So that is the blue, and it was the perfect match. So I did those. These ones are actually a 60 stitch sock because I use 2.75 needles. So if I use 2.75 needles, I do 60 stitches, and if I use 2.5 needles, I do 64 stitches. So these are a 60 stitch sock, 1x1 ribbon, and if I do a 60 stitch sock, I do 1x1 ribbon, and if I do a 64-inch stitch sock, I do 2x2 ribbon. But yeah, those are there. I'm really, really pleased with how the stripes came out on these ones. Really pleased. It's just what I wanted. And I'm not sure we're going to have a chance to do this colourway for the shop update this time. We because I've no retro gumball and I need to do that. We're doing stripy yarn tomorrow, so it's going to be retro gumball tomorrow. And the shop update is on the 1st of September, so I don't know whether I'll get any of this one in, but we shall see. So that is my second finished object. And my third finished object is just a bag that I made myself. Yesterday, I thought I need some more bags. I have got so many bags, it's ridiculous, but I don't have very many big bags. So I wanted to make myself a bag, and I'm getting a little bit low on fabric at the minute. So I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna sew fabric pieces together without any coordination or anything, and just go for it and see what I come up with. So this is the bag. Let me just do the box bottom. So on one side it's got these fabrics, and on the other side it's got these fabrics. I absolutely love it. And inside is bright pink gingham, and there is, the bottom is different as well. That's the bottom. So it's just a shawl size bag just to keep some bigger projects in, and I absolutely love it. It's gorgeous. I'm really pleased with it. It's just what I wanted. I did not match this fabric at all. I just went for it. This one I've had in my stash for quite a while, and I only had this little tiny bit of it, which was just enough to add a little bit on the bottom. I was going to try and put some sort of patches on it, and I sewed all these patches together yesterday, but then it looked a bit rubbish, so I decided not to add them. But isn't it gorgeous? So just a shawl size bag. So that's it for the finished objects. Now we need to get into whips. Let's take a drink of my coffee. I didn't really work on any of the whips that you've seen over the past few weeks on the episode whatsoever. I haven't worked on my Miles shirt jacket, but I'm not planning on working on that until the cold weather starts, because of it being an Aran and it's just too warm to work on that. I haven't worked on my Stephen West. I've totally lost the mojo for the Stephen West, but I think that's with my knitting mojo disappearing. What else did I have on the go? I think that was it for the bigger projects, although I did cast on a new project. So, living in this Cabin Boy Knits bag, I have cast on the Rocket DK. I've had the pattern for quite a while, and I've had the yarn for it for quite a while. It's by Tanis Fibre Arts, and you all know I've done the Rocket what's it called? Rocket T with the V. But this is the DK sweater version. Oops. And I first saw this on Karma's a Stitch podcast. I'd done the Rocket T, and she'd made this one, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So that's where I'd first seen it, and I've been eyeing it up ever since then. I think I bought the pattern at the time, and I bought the yarn about 2 months ago, so I thought I'm just going to cast it on. So the yarn that I'm using is just 100% acrylic. It's Olympus double knitting. Now it's just from one of our cheaper shops local to us, so it's not an actual brand that I've ever heard of. It was 99p a ball. I don't know where you'd get it, because where the shop that I bought it from was just like, it's not a chain shop, it's a local, bit like B&M's but a local version. So that is the yarn. And I'm also using an Aldi yarn. Oops. Oh no, that's alright. This one, which again, I don't have the ball band for, but it's an Aldi yarn, and I don't know what the colourway is, but Aldi do this yarn every so often, and you get them in, they come in 4 packs and they're $3.99. I've got quite a few balls of it, so I'm going to pair it with that. Now, I can show you the actual jumper. Where are we? Here we go. So this is it so far. It's so soft. This green yarn is beautiful. So I've literally just split for the sleeves. And what I plan on doing with the cream is get another sort of 10 rows in, and I'm just going to put a cream stripe across and then on each of the sleeves as well, just to break up the green a little bit. Now, this is the bit that I struggled with. When I did the tea version, I don't know whether it's because I'm a really tight knitter or what, but this section here, I struggled with it so much. You do yarn overs right before a stitch. When I did the tea version, I had to really modify this because the yarn overs kept hopping over the stitch and then messing my stitch count up completely. With the DK version, I found it easier, but I've still, the yarn overs have hopped over where they shouldn't be. Now somewhere you can see what I mean here. And you see I've got an extra one here, and that's because you've got a yarn over, a stitch marker, then a stitch, and this one hopped over. I didn't catch it when it did it, and it messed up my count completely. I didn't go back and fix it because that is on the back and it's really hard to see. I was really careful. It just meant that every time on these increased rows here, I had to count every single stitch in between, which got a bit mind-numbing. It took me quite a bit of time to do this. So these eyelet rows are supposed to go all the way down the body. I'm not doing it down the body because I'm not counting every single row. So I'm just omitting it now. It's got an I-cord edging around the neck and around the end of the sleeves. Where's my pattern gone? Where did I put the bites here? You see around the sleeves and the neck it's got that gorgeous I-cord bind off. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm not sure what sleeves I'm going to do yet. There is an option for balloon sleeves or standard sleeves. I kind of like the balloon sleeves. Sorry, that was Josh sneezing. I kind of like the balloon sleeves, but I'm not sure if they're going to get really annoying, so I'm just going to decide at the time. But it's really gorgeous. Really like it. Are you too high there? Hang on a minute. No, wrong one. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. Yeah, it's going to be absolutely beautiful. I'm using 5mm needles. I did go up a needle size from what the pattern called for, again because I'm a tight knitter. I did swatch. Now, I'm new to swatching, I really am, and I've had quite a lot of problems with my swatches. They never work out. I swatched for the Rocket Tee and that went drastically wrong. Luckily that only fit me because of the weight that I lost. Had I not lost weight, that tee would have never fit me. So I've swatched for this one, tried to be a lot more mindful, and still it's ended up with no positive ease. Because the yarn is so stretchy, I think it'll block and give me the positive ease, and I think it'll be absolutely fine. But I don't know what I've been doing wrong. Anytime I swatch with this pattern, it doesn't work. So I still think it's going to fit because the yarn is really, really giving. It'll be absolutely fine. But yeah, I'm really pleased with that. So that's my new cast on. I'm just into the boring round and round now, but still enjoying it. So that's the first one. Now my second new cast on is, it's all new cast ons from this point in, is this Living In my Yarndale bag that I got last year. It's got all these gorgeous little stitch markers on it, which I've turned all of them upside down so you can't see them, but they're all little sheep. So it's Ruby's birthday coming up at the end of September. She's only got one pair of socks that I've made her, so I've cast on another pair of socks for Ruby's birthday. And this is the yarn. Look at that, isn't it fun? It's absolutely gorgeous. So the yarn I actually got from Yarndale last year. It was a 50 gram, sorry I've got itchy eye. It was a 50-gram yarn with a 20-gram mini, and it is Joe Knit Sew. The colourway is Neon Flutters, and it's 425 metres, and it's a superwash merino nylon sock, and it's high twist as well. It's absolutely gorgeous. Now, I'm not using the mini that came with it. It came with a gorgeous blue mini, but I'd nicked that ages ago for another project. So I dyed up this yarn. This is a sparkle yarn, which I thought would be really appropriate with the colourway of the sock. And that is a 75-25 sparkle mini that I've dyed up. So yeah, it's lovely. It's absolutely gorgeous. That's just for Ruby. Just about another 10 rows and I'll move into the heel. So nothing really to see much on that, but it is a new whip, so I thought I would show you. Look at the state of this. This yarn, we've actually switched yarn supplier. I don't think I've mentioned it, to be honest. When we've been doing the advents, when we've been doing the advents, we've had, the past 2 months the minis have been out of stock, and we've sort of been hand winding the minis. Now last month, when it came to me ordering the minis again, they were out of stock again. And that was when Danny had broken his ribs, and there is no way I could have wound all them minis on my own. Absolutely no way. So it forced me to find another supplier for the minis, which actually turned out not to be a bad thing, because while I was ordering the minis, I got some samples of some other yarn, which is the sparkle one that I've just shown you. And I'm really, really pleased with the yarn. So we are sticking with the new supplier. So there will be some sparkle sock coming. Not in this update, because I'd ordered enough yarn for 2 months worth of advent, plus this update as well. So next time we order yarn, I'll order some of the sparkle sock. I'd never used it before because I wasn't sure how that sparkle would work, but I'm really impressed. I really like it. So there will be some of that coming. Anyway, right, I just need to grab my other projects. 1 second. So my last 2 projects are totally the fault of Abby. So Abby has the Blue Heart Crochet channel. I absolutely love watching Abby's videos. She brings out an episode on a Friday, which is like a crochet catch-up. And then she brings another episode out through the week where it's sort of a Stitch Your Library episode. It's really, really good. She's a fantastic crocheter. She makes a lot of, she's got into socks recently, and the socks are amazing. She does a lot of blankets. She's making blankets for Christmas at the moment. So there's a lot of those, and she makes a lot of toys. She's a really, really good podcaster. So go and check out Abby. But I was watching Abby the other day, and she was showing, now which one was it? It was one of the critters that she was crocheting, sorry. And I can't remember which one. It was the dog. She'd made a dog for, I think it was a prize for a raffle, and she'd made the prize, and it was I think it was a dachshund dog, you know, and it was so cute, absolutely gorgeous. And I was watching it thinking, I really miss amigurumi, I really do. So I had a little look on Etsy, and I found this. Where is it? Fritz the frog. Isn't it gorgeous? Oh, the lights suddenly come. Hey, you can see me properly now. So, there's not a great deal to show you because I'm only part way through it. I've decided to do mine in pink and green, and this is what I've got so far. There we go. So it's just his little eyes to go on, and then all of his legs to do. And it's absolutely beautiful. I've just used DK yarn from Stash, which is why it's pink and green. I did have some white, but I fancied the pink, and I plan on putting a little bow on his head as well. So yeah, it feels really nice to be doing amigurumi again. It really does. I haven't done it in so long. I think the last time I did amigurumi was all the bears that I was doing last year, and I was kind of like, oh my god, I haven't done it in so long. Can I remember how to do it? I think I kind of put myself off because I was doing a bear a month for 12 months, if you remember, and I kind of put myself off amigurumi for such a long time, and it feels so nice to be back into it. So I'm just plodding away on that. There's not much to do now. Hopefully that'll be finished by next podcast. So there is that one. And then, really weirdly, does anybody else notice that when you do one thing, loads of other things of the same thing come up? Do you know what I mean? Am I explaining that properly? Like, you know, like if you're buying a new car, a particular car, and then you see that same car everywhere, or something, or you hear a new word and then everybody uses that word. So really weirdly then, was it on, what day are we on today? It's Wednesday today, so it must have been Monday. Jasmine said, oh, I've got something for you. How weird. I just got back into amigurumi. I was like, oh my God, that's so strange. So this was a kit she bought for herself, and she said, would I do it for her? So I've started this as well. There really isn't a great deal to see on this. I will show you anyway. It's a So Crafty kit from Aldi. Now I am going to do a review on this once I've finished. But it just basically comes with everything you need to make this. No, is it? It's a crab. It's not a lobster, is it? It's a crab. Yeah, it says it on the front. It's a crab. So there really is nothing to see. I've only got, that is bright, and it is that bright actually. I'll pull it over here. I feel like I'm getting a glow off it. But yeah, isn't it gorgeous? So I've started it. I've done the eyes, but they're right in the bottom of my box. Oh, I can get one look. It's got eyes as well. Now it needs 8 legs, so I may not have this finished for next time because there's quite a lot of legs to make. But I just thought it was so strange that I just picked up amigurumi again after all this time, and then Jasmine gives me an amigurumi kit. How weird. It was like it was meant to be. So I will do a review on this once I've finished it, and yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's $3.99. These are $3.99. What a bargain. So that is it for all the content, I think. There's nothing else to show. Nothing that I've been working on anywhere. Yeah, so there's nothing else to show. Right. So what should we get into now? So yeah, the live stuff. I'm really disappointed that I've lost the knitting mojo. I don't know what's happened. I was actually speaking to Karen about it. It was maybe about a month to 2 months ago. Karen is from Stitches and Jacks, and I was saying that I'm not really enjoying the knitting like I did. And she said, do you think you've just done too much? And I said, I don't know. And I think maybe I have. Maybe I just need a little bit of a break, which is quite concerning, seeing as I have a podcast about knitting and crochet. But as long as I can get some crocheting, that's got to be a good thing. So I'm a little bit worried about my knitting mojo, if I'm totally honest. I'm a little bit, oh my God, what am I going to do if I'm not knitting? But I just don't have any desire to knit at the moment. And hopefully, it's like anything. It's like if you lose your sock mojo, you know, just relax, it'll come back, and I'm sure knitting will, especially when the weather turns. It's been so hot and muggy. We've not had the rain. I know that a lot of places up and down the UK have had these horrific rains and floods, and we've not had it. We've had little bits of drizzle here and there, but certainly not enough rain. The air is very sticky, it's very humid, and you don't want to be sitting and knitting when it's like that. So I'm hoping that's the reason, but I am a little bit worried, I'm not going to lie. On the other side of it, it's come with a blessing because I've picked up my crochet again. And when I first started this channel, I'd always said that crochet was my first love, and then I hadn't done it for so long. And I've always kind of missed it. So it does sort of come with a blessing in disguise that it's made me pick up my crochet. So yeah, it's made me think about things a little bit, because it's a little bit tricky. I'm trying to run this small business, and I'm so thankful for all of you guys here that's enabled me to do it and enabled me to have the opportunity where I can work from home and I can do the things that I'm really, really passionate about. I kind of feel at the moment that the channel is suffering a little bit because of the because I've switched to weekly podcasts. So I had When I cancelled the podcast last week, I did take the opportunity and have a really good think about where I want the channel to go. So I went back to the start. Like I said, me losing the knitting mojo has been a big factor into this. I'd switched to weekly podcasts because I was doing a lot of knitting at the time and I always had content. Switching to weekly podcast has meant that I just need to knit more, because if I don't knit more, then I don't have the content for the channel. I can't keep showing you the same project week after week. I've got to introduce other things in order to have content, and I think that may be partly why I've lost my knitting mojo. So I had a really good think, and me and Danny were talking about it, and I think I need to switch back to fortnightly podcasts. That worked well for me all the way through, and it gives me enough time, so if I don't knit anything for a few days, I'm doing other things, I've still got content for the podcast, and I don't feel the need to have to knit all the time. So I'm going to switch back to fortnightly podcasts. I hope you all understand that. And as well, while I was sort of going through all this thinking and everything else, I was kind of thinking there is the things that I wanted to do with the channel I haven't done. And being on weekly podcasts is not going to help that. So I've talked a lot about, the tutorials that I want to do, other things that I want to introduce into the channel, and I can't do that if I'm doing weekly podcasts. So that all being said, from this point on, we'll be back to fortnightly, and that will give me more time to do the other things that I want to do with the channel, tutorials or other vlogs or whatever that may be. We're also introducing Patreon as well. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen this. That has come about. It's something we've thought about for a while, and we've been backwards and forwards on it. I do a lot of crafting that I keep off the channel because it is a knitting and crochet podcast. You see bits when I do the vlogs of other things that I do, but I keep a lot of that off. So we've decided to introduce Patreon. The Patreon will have, now where have I got? I've got it written down here. I am organised. I've just flicked a pen over there. The Patreon will have 4 tiers. Tier 1 is the Polly and Bert tier. We decided to name it after the cats. Oh my god, this was the hardest thing ever, naming these tiers. A lot of other channels have named it after yarn or sheep or, so you're really limited. You can't choose the same thing. So we spent probably an hour deciding what we were going to name these tiers. Danny were like, well, let's call them North, East, South and West. And I'm like, no, we can't do that. We ended up doing it after the animals. Obviously, we have more animals than tiers. So the first tier is Polly and Bert. The second tier is Lugs and Jack. The third tier is Ruby, and the fourth tier is Stuart. The fourth tier is the most expensive tier, but obviously Stuart is the face of my Yarny Corner. He's on the logo, so he had to have the top tier. The patron, I've kind of just fell into this really quickly, haven't I? The patron will be, it's just an extra way to support us if that's what you want to do. There's no, don't feel like you need to do it. It's just a way to support us and to enable us to keep going with the YouTube channel. It'll bring in revenue for us to keep going and keep creating content for the YouTube channel. That's all it is. But there is no pressure to join Patreon. Like I say, there is 4 tiers. The first tier means that you'll get access to the Discord group and extra vlogs that we do. The second tier means you'll get both those benefits, plus you'll get access to our secret shop. The third tier gives you the previous benefits of the other tiers, but you'll also get access to monthly Zooms. And the fourth tier is all the previous benefits of the other tiers, but that also comes with a mini skein club. The fourth tier will be limited to 20 patrons because you get a mini skein sent to you each month. So there will be a cap on how many we can take into that tier, which at the moment is 20. So yeah, Patreon will be a lot more of the behind the scenes things that we do. There'll be lots of vlogs on there. There'll be a lot more of the other crafts that I do. So you'll get a real sort of more in depth to us really, and what we do, and the behind the scenes and the trials and tribulations of running the small business. And it'll develop over time, whether them tiers stay with the things on them or not, or I decide to change them. You know, you can give me feedback if you want to see something else in your tier, or you want to see me doing other things. It's going to be a way for me to interact more easily. Like I said, I'm planning on running monthly Zooms on it, so we can get together just for an hour each month and have a chat and catch up and do some knitting. There will be knitting content on it, and there will be crochet content, but there's going to be a lot more of what we do as well. So I've been working on the Patreon over the past sort of month, and I've been adding bits to it. I can't add too much to it before launch date, which is the 1st of September at 9 AM. So there's a vlog on there already, but there's stuff coming for it, so it's going to build up. I'm a little bit nervous, can you tell? I'm kind of like overselling it, because I don't want... The reason I've not done Patreon is I don't want to start it and then don't get any people wanting to join. That's my biggest fear. And if that happens, it happens. I'll have to just face that fear. But I don't want... It's not going to take away from the channel. It's just going to be something extra that you get. And I was a little bit worried that if I would have time for Patreon. But we've worked everything out. Our calendar is like rigid at the moment. We've got a calendar in the kitchen, and we've really had to sit... Sorry, I keep talking with my hands. We've really had to sit down and block things in on the calendar and be really strict with ourselves about what we're doing. So if something's blocked in on the calendar, it gets done. But if there's nothing on the calendar for that day, we take the day to not do any business. And that's probably the hardest thing that we've had to do over the past year. It's really difficult. When you're trying to run a small business, it's very, very easy just to keep going and keep going and keep going and trying the new things, because you need to make it work and you need it to be successful. And there's been many times, especially prior to the break that we took in the summer, where I hadn't had a day off for 6 weeks and I was working up until 10 o'clock at night if it's been editing videos or creating content for the podcast or coming up with new ideas, and I've just kept going for 6 weeks straight at one point. So with introducing the Patreon now, we've had to be really, really strict and just do what we've got on the calendar and nothing more, which is actually working out quite well, because over the past week I've had 2 days where I've not had to do any my Yarny Corner stuff. It's been really weird. So Patreon's coming. And what else did I want to mention? The shop update. The shop update will be on the 1st of September. It will be on the website. We're going to keep the Etsy shop open. There's going to be digital things go onto the Etsy shop. You may have seen there's been some SVGs go on there, but I'm going to still keep it open for digital products. It's easier on Etsy. But the website will be where we sell all the yarn, except for the Advent. The Advent will finish the course on Etsy because that's where it started. So the website will have its official launch on the 1st of September at 7 PM. We have no idea how we do this at this point. With Etsy, you kind of have all your listings on there, and then you just click, 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 select them all, and then just hit publish in one go, and everything goes live. I'm not sure how that works on the website, but we'll figure that out. Would you like to see the yarn so far? Hang on. Right, so these are some of the yarns we've got so far. These ones haven't been skeined yet, they've only just dried. So we've got this one. These are 75-25, superwash merino. Look at that, see the pink on it. This one has no name yet. So we've got this one. We've got this one, which is very similar to English Garden that we did. It's just real pale purples and kind of like the palest yellow that you can get. So we've got that one. This was one that Danny showed on Instagram, a lighter version of it. It's come out a little bit lighter than the other one. I'll compare it in a minute. And we asked for a name, and my friend Shelley commented, "Not for Alex." And there was some amazing names that came up, but Danny has named this Not for Alex because when he dyed it, I really liked it. And he goes, "It's not for you." So that is called Not for Alex. It's all right because this is my new favourite one anyway. Look at this. Isn't that beautiful? It's like a bluey grey with hints of purple in it. It's just gorgeous. So we have those 4. This is the same one as this. Let me see. This one's possibly slightly lighter. So that's that one. We have this gorgeous purple one, which is just like a heather colour. It's beautiful with really pale blues. That one. This one. I think it's called this one Carnival. We have this one. I love this one. Look at that. Look at the speckles in that. This one has no name yet. They'll all have names in the update. They won't be nameless forever. So there is that one. And then we have some striped yarn. So we have this one, which is yellow, purple and red. There are 3 of these. These will have minis with them. So what we're doing with the stripe yarn is they are only 50 grams. So you'll get a 20 gram mini. So you've got 70 grams and you can easily get a pair of socks out of that. They'll be priced at £16 for the self-striping with a 20 gram mini, which I thought was quite a good price. We have 3 of those ones. We have 3 of this Galaxy colourway, which is grey, purple and teal, which I absolutely love. I've got a sample of this. Mine isn't gumballed up like this one is. But I've got some to make as well. But that's that one. And then we have 3 of those. And then we have 1. If you can hear that singing outside, I'm really sorry. It's the next door neighbour's little girl. She likes to sing, bless her. She's quite good at it. And this one is, do you remember the Tokyo yarn that we did? That is this one. This one there is only 1 of, and I'm having a nightmare photographing this. This is not that browny yellow, it's orange, and it will not show up on camera. I hoped by showing it, it's kind of that colour there. I hoped by showing it on the podcast that I would get the colour right, but I've tried photographing this so many times in so many different lights, and every time this is showing up brown. It's not, it's like a pale orange. It's so hard to get that colour. But it's grey, pale orange and blue. So that is that one, and that's the self-striping yarn that we have going into the shop at the moment. The key rings have actually been popular. Mandy showed one on her podcast last week, so thank you so much, Mandy, from the Mouses Makes podcast. And the rest of the key rings sold. I'd made them a few updates ago now, and they didn't really sell, so I thought they weren't going to be that popular, but they've all sold now, so I'm going to make some more of those for the shop. They were really easy to make, and I really enjoyed making them, so I will make some more of those. Somebody had messaged me and said, do you have any more left? And I had 1 left, so it went. So I will make some more of those for the shop, but thank you, Mandy, for showing yours. Yeah, so they all sold. So I think that's everything. It's been a bit of a, I don't know how to explain it. I was a little bit nervous doing this podcast because I kind of thought I'm coming on, I'm changing my plans about what, how often I'm going to podcast, and I'm going to upset people, and I really hope that I haven't upset anybody. I'm really lucky to have the subscribers that I've got, and anytime I make any kind of change to what I do think about that, and especially to the subscribers that I know that have been there all the way through. I get regular comments, Dorothy and Lorraine and Eve, and Trisha. They're the comments that I know that I'll get each month, and I do think about that when I make any changes whatsoever to the podcast. So I hope that you're all okay with that. It's just about making it work for us and still taking the channel where we want it to go. But on top of it, we are trying to run a small business, and I really try hard not to make the podcast about our small business, because we never had that when we started the podcast. And I want the podcast just to be about knitting and crochet, which is what I started it as. But it is our main source of advertisement for our business, especially with coming off Etsy as well. We lose Etsy's marketing that we had. We're gaining the money that we would have paid in fees, but we lose the marketing aspect. So the YouTube channel is our only advertisement. So I do try and keep it at the end of the podcast, and I try really hard to keep the podcast interesting and provide content that you all would hopefully find interesting. But sometimes I suppose it's with anything, it just gets difficult sometimes, and sometimes you just think, I've nothing to talk about. And I think being on a weekly podcast, I'm glad that I've tried it, but it wasn't for me. It was too much. I couldn't keep up. So with everything else we've just got going on, which I love our little business, and I love what we do. I love seeing where it all goes. We started this purely as yarn, and I started it purely as yarn. Danny's hopped on. We've done so many other things. He's doing mystery boxes this Christmas, by the way. He's been planning that for the past month. He's got an amazing idea for mystery boxes, so keep your eye out for that. And I like introducing new things. I like showing a bit of me in the products that we sell. So sometimes it does mean that there are just changes along the way, and I don't want anyone to think because we're setting up Patreon that it's going to all be about Patreon and not about the channel. It's not going to be that whatsoever. That is why I'm switching back to fortnightly podcasts, so the channel can still get everything that I've always done, like the vlogs and the tutorials that I really want to get out there. So yeah, it's just, we'll see what happens. I think I'm over explaining myself, and I don't mean to over explain myself. It is what it is. I can only do what I can do, and I have done so much talking with my hands this week. What is going on? I can only do what I can do, and I'm still finding my way. We've had our first year in business is up on Bonfire Nights, the 5th of November, when we went official. That's just Josh coming down the stairs. So we're coming up to our first year in business, and I'd like to, we've struggled a little bit this year, I'm not going to lie. Well, this, we've been very honest and transparent about struggling, especially over the summer with the cost of living crisis in the UK. The fact that it's been summer, the business did struggle a little bit. So I want to keep that going. It's our pride and joy, and however we need to keep that going, we will keep it going. So yeah, all that to say that there are changes coming, but the good changes, they're not bad changes. And if I say I'm going to do something, I like to do it. So I'm a little bit disappointed with myself going to weekly podcasts, then taking it back again. But it's the right decision for me. Hey up, Josh. He's trying to avoid the camera. He just went like slug-like over the sofa. So yeah, it is what it is. Hopefully, I'm sure you all understand. My subscribers are the best subscribers anyway, so I know that you will understand. But yeah, I'm going to stop waffling. I have waffled for 50 minutes, oh my word. And I don't even know whether this podcast I can use, because right at the start the light was so bad. I need to check it. Hopefully it'll be fine. But yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be back in a fortnight. We'll be back before that. There'll be a vlog. I like to try and do a vlog at least once a week, a podcast at least once. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna stop waffling. I'll see you all in a fortnight. I'll be back before that for something or another, I'm sure. Bye everybody.